Hi, I'm Linzy Dineen, and I'm a first-year RA on the Sadler Hall staff. I am also an LCRA in the Honors Learning community. As a returning RA, how do you plan to be a leader amongst your staff? How do you plan on supporting the Office of Residence Life? As a returning RA, I would prioritize being a leader on my staff. Even after having served in this role for just one semester, I feel extremely prepared to help those who are new to the position navigate their way through and adjust to it. I would make very clear early on that I would be open and eager to fielding any questions or concerns first-year RAs have. In addition, I would focus on having very intentional conversations with new and even the returning members of the staff about how they're handling the position, along with maintaining their other roles on campus and anything that's going on in their personal lives. Being a readily available support system for my staff would be the primary method by which I plan to be a leader on it. In terms of supporting ORL, I would continue and try to improve upon my engagement with it. This past semester, I contributed to ORL by providing feedback whenever it was asked and by helping with the RA informational sessions. This coming semester, I'd like to continue and further my involvement in ORL, and if I am to return next year, I would like to maintain that trend. Considering the three types of residential floor populations, all first years, mixed populations, and all upper divisions, how would your intentional interaction strategies differ? Depending on the population, I would adjust the strategies I utilize for intentional interactions. For example, with first-year students, it's easy to connect because there's so much that they have yet to learn that you already know. One of the best ways to connect with these students is by helping connect them to campus, academically or otherwise. However, when upperclassmen are also in the mix, first-year students have even more resources to reference for their questions, so they won't necessarily specifically need me as much. In this mixed population scenario, facilitating the younger and older students connecting with one another would be my focus. Utilizing the community mapping skills I've developed, I would learn about the common interests my residents hold and use that information to create connections, potentially through relevant CCIs. This would be mutually beneficial for the first-year students as well as the upperclassmen. For strictly upperclassmen centers, I would interact with my residents by relating to them. Since at this point they are accustomed to the campus and on their own path, connecting more personally would be the best option. Discovering their involvements and passions and inquiring about how they want to apply those to their post-grad plans and their future would be one effective strategy for intentional conversations to occur. What have you done over the past year to enhance your understanding of the topics of diversity, inclusion, and social justice? Please share what you learned from them. This past year, I was challenged to enhance my competence in terms of diversity, inclusion, and social justice. Apart from the informative and inspiring program of care, I served as a facilitator for SEM 100. This role allowed me to engage in dialogue about various contentious topics directly as they relate to our campus climate, while also allowing me to develop facilitation skills and grow as a leader. Through the lens of Trevor Noah's autobiography, I was tasked to challenge the preconceptions I held about race, ethnicity, and systemic biases, prejudice, and oppression. It was an incredibly rewarding experience, and I valued the change in perspective it offered me. In addition, one of the classes I took surprised me by the profound effect it had on me. SOS 397, otherwise referred to as criminology, taught me about the American justice system and specifically about its flaws. It was in this class that I was given the opportunity to complete a research paper and give a presentation on the prison system in the U.S. and how it relates to correctional institutions in a global context. It was one of my favorite projects in college by far because I learned about occurrences too often kept in the shadows. It taught me not just about content relevant to my major and future career, but also about accountability and empathy and humility, and so many other irreplaceable life skills. I learned about my role in social justice and the detriments of complacency. It was a rewarding experience, and I hope to have many more throughout my college career and beyond. As a returning RA, you will face a new academic year. Changes are inevitable. This could mean a new supervisor, a new staff, new expectations, etc. Explain how you manage change and share 3 strategies for how you will manage these changes. Admittedly, change really excites me. As much as I love and value having organization and having a routine, I also really cherish being dynamic. But adjusting to change of this caliber would mean that many strategies could be implemented to make the transition the best it can be. My first strategy would be to keep a completely open mind going into the new year. Having false expectations and conceptions could be extremely detrimental to the process, so being flexible and unbiased is the best route of approach. Another strategy would be to start off on the right foot with the new staff, supervisory and otherwise. Making a good impression with the new RD, ARD, and even fellow RAs would be extremely important to me so that the year can start as smoothly as possible with no interpersonal conflicts to create road bumps. In any case, having great relationships with your peers and supervisors is an incredibly positive experience, which I learned this past semester working on the Sadler staff. Lastly, I would be intentional about keeping the same energy and enthusiasm I came into my first year of the position with. It would be unfair to my new residents, my new staff, and even and especially myself to just go through the motions and treat the job like it's a checklist followed by a paycheck. I would consciously make an effort to go above and beyond next year, not wavering just because I'd be returning to the position. This includes supporting my fellow RAs, supporting my senior staff, and ORL, as I've previously discussed. Describe a conflict you faced as an RA. Explain what steps you took to manage the situation. What did you learn from the situation? What, if anything, would you do differently if faced with the situation again? One of the main conflicts I dealt with this past semester was a roommate disagreement. One of my residents approached me and expressed that she no longer wanted to live in her room because of her roommate's behavior and conflicts they had been having. It was really surprising to me because they had been friends for all semester at that point, and she explained to me that it had just quickly devolved into a situation that was unlivable for her. So at that point, I asked if she wanted to meet with myself and her roommate and have a mediated conversation about it and see if we could work things out, but she decided that her best option was to move into a vacancy in her friend's room a couple floors down. At that point, I facilitated her connection with my senior staff and subsequently her move into that room. And I then connected with her roommate to debrief the situation and go over everything with her. I felt that I handled this situation well, but if I could address the situation over again, I would have done a few things differently. Firstly, I would have connected with her roommate much earlier on in the process to gauge her perspective on the situation from the beginning. And also, at first, when my resident had approached me about moving, I felt personally responsible for it. I felt like I wasn't as aware of my floor as I should be, and I felt like I could have done something to prevent what was going on. And now I think that it's really important to not blame yourself for events that are out of your control as an RA. It's hard when you live and work in the same place to differentiate what's your responsibility, what's not, but I feel after having dealt with situations like these and being in this position for a semester, I'm in a really good place of knowing myself and knowing the job and it was just overall a great learning experience for me, even though it wasn't the best situation to have to deal with. At this point, I just wanted to take a minute and once again thank you for listening to my answers and considering me for this job. I have truly loved my first semester and intend to be an RA for the rest of my college career if you'll have me. So, once again, I would like to thank you for your time and your consideration and hope that you all have wonderful, wonderful days.